Hey guys, so I wanted to come on today to um, do a little video. I had been asked about this for quite some time, and I've been promising to do a video, and I've never done it. And something happened today that prompted it. So I was born with a condition that's called Arnold Chiari Malformation, and not many people know about it. Not many people know they have it. And it's just that mine got bad enough to a point where it was discovered, and I went through surgery for it. So today I went into a store that I never go into, that I never go into again, but I happened to go into it. And the person serving me was kind of short with me, and I kind of like looked at her like, you, hello. And she immediately apologized, and she's like, I'm so sorry, I just have a really bad migraine. And then she went into telling me about her situation, and it was the same thing. She hasn't had her surgery yet. She's still in the process of being tested to find out what's the best procedure. And she just started crying because she had never met anyone else who had gone through it. She never met anyone else who understood what she was going through. The thing with Arnold Chiari malformation is that a lot of people around you don't really understand how it feels, the pain, the dizziness, sometimes the searching for words that you know are right there, but you can't bring them out your mouth. Um, the numbness in your fingers and your toes. It's just so many different symptoms, and none of the symptoms can be alike. Some can progress further than others. So it's hard when you don't have someone who has been through it or lives it to relate to it. They can't relate to you. And it's usually family members who have a very difficult time dealing with it. So for me, Arnold Chiari, it's a condition you're born with. It's a deformation basically of your skull, and your brain, in my case, slips back. So it was slipping backwards. And I really didn't have any symptoms. I can't remember any symptoms, growing up. But my symptoms started maybe 15 years ago, is the first time I could think of that I had a symptom. And I was on a roller coaster and blacked out. I don't know why I blacked out. I just blacked out. And that was the first time I remember, you know, something strange happening. And, gradually after that, my kids were in sports, and I couldn't yell. If I yell too loud, I would feel like I'm about to pass out, and my head right here would just swell. It would just really, really be like I'm going into a fog. So I'd have to sit down and put my head down, and that would relieve it. I then progressed into the massive headaches. I mean, horrible headaches. Light bothered me. Reversing in a car bothered me. I was having difficulty remembering things, and I had such a great memory. I never forgot anything. I didn't need to write anything down. And I kind of started to associate the things that were happening with my age, because I was, at this point, I was approaching 40 or had turned 40, and it was getting really bad. And so my mood started to change. Because when you're in that much agony and pain, and struggling to even find words to say, you become, I don't want to say mean, but you become someone that you're not. You just want to be in bed all day long, and that's how I became. I just didn't want to go anywhere. I didn't want to see anybody. I didn't want to do anything. Just leave me alone. Leave me alone. By 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I was done with my day. I had no more energy. Um, you know, sitting up and getting down was a chore, and I would get off balance if I sat down too fast or if I got up too fast, or, you know, eating became an issue because I'd want to swallow and I couldn't swallow. It's like I my body's like fighting with itself. The signals weren't connecting. So I had gone to my doctor and she was like, "Well, it sounds a lot like vertigo because of the dizziness." And with this woman that I spoke to today, she also said that her doctors first jumped to vertigo. So put me on medication for vertigo. I was on medication for vertigo for almost a year. It did nothing for me. Nothing. The symptoms became worse. So my doctor finally was like, "Well, let's send you to a neurologist." So I went to the neurologist. They were like, "Okay, you're fine, but let's still run some tests. We think it's vertigo too." So they did an MRI, just a regular no contrast MRI. And when that came back, the radiologist kind of said, "Well, there seems to be some sort of Arnold Chiari, but, you know, it's not impressive," or something like that. He said, "Let's just ignore it." So the neurologist said, "No, I want to go a little further," because she looked at it and she was like, I tend to disagree with this, so let's go ahead and have a contrast MRI." She did the contrast and she's like, "Yeah, this is definitely the issue." So she explained to me what it was. There are 4 types of Arnold Chiari malformation. So a form of it is spina bifida. That's one form. I think that's form 2. I think I have 3. But my problem was my brain is slipping back because my skull isn't supporting it. So she said, "I think you need to go to see a neurosurgeon, and we're going to send you to this particular one because I trust him. I worked for him for many years, and he won't do surgery unless you want it." She knew I was against any surgery whatsoever. I was like, "No one is messing with my brain. It's not happening. So this is like, it doesn't make sense. I am not gonna bother." So she said, "Well, just go and see how it is, and he'll tell you his thoughts." So I decided to go and I talked to him, and he said, "I won't do surgery unless I see that this is affecting your life. If this is going to affect you down the line, we're going to have to go ahead and do a surgery. I recommend a surgery." So we did a cine MRI, and what that is basically quick shots of your brain, because what he was looking for was the fluid, my spinal fluid, and how it was going to my brain, and making sure it was going in, to the brain adequately. So we went ahead and we did that, and that was, I think, April of 2014. And he came back and he's like, "Yeah, your the brain is slipping, and there are 2 tonsils, at the end of your brain that were blocking the spinal flow." So he said, "It's becoming a problem, and you're not getting enough brain fluid, so fluid to the brain. So you're gonna start seeing more and more issues." And I remember him, saying this, and I was like, "Well, I don't know what to do because I don't want anyone messing with my brain." That was like a no for me. And then, months went by, and I was eating one day and I couldn't swallow. And the food was at the back of my throat and I couldn't swallow. And I was like, swallow, swallow. And it just wasn't connecting. It is the weirdest feeling. It just won't connect. And no one really would understand that unless you've been in that situation where, moving your hand is just like your brain says, move your hand moves. But then there's a time when you tell yourself, move your hand, and your hand is like not moving. And it's a real thing. It's frightening. It's scary. It's so hard to describe. It's like you're defeated and your body is turning against you. So after that happened, I was like, well, it's getting worse and perhaps it's time for me to have the surgery, because I kept thinking, if I choke on this food, and I know, I could have died from this, and my kids would be left out. I'd be leaving my kids, and that's when it started to change for me. When I started to really see that this was going to affect their lives. So I started to do research. There really isn't that much research out there on that I could find on Arnold Chiari that gave me comfort in knowing that there is a positive life after, or that there could be a positive life after. Everything I saw was people struggling still. And that was, just so hard for me to see. So I decided to do it. I think in September I had decided to do it. And then my husband's father passed, and my surgery was scheduled for that week after, and I was like, he's just not in the right mindset, and I didn't want to do it, so I pushed it back to October. And I had gone through, the pre-ops and all of that, and I remember my doctor telling me, he said, I'm not going to lie to you, this is a very painful surgery, and it's the most painful surgery it's one of the most painful surgeries that I perform. And I was like, yeah, I've had 5 C-sections, I've had a hysterectomy, I've had all kinds of surgery, I've had my gallbladder removed, I have been through the ringer, people. I have really been through the ringer. So I was like, bring it on. So I went through, got, prepped for the surgery, and the pain I can't even describe. It's like nothing I'd ever gone through. So what the surgery is for, to correct this issue, was to remove a part of my skull. So in the back, they removed part of my skull and opened my dura, which is the covering that is over the brain. So they opened that up and patched it so that my brain could be in a better position. So I can't even describe the pain. I was heavily sedated. I was in ICU for 48 hours, I think, something around there, so that they could monitor my pain and manage it better. And really, I don't remember much. I was so out of it that I don't remember much. I knew my husband was there, and, I remember him. I remember the kids, and that's about it for those first 48 hours. And then they moved me to another room where I spent the rest of the days. And that I was in the hospital for maybe 5 days in total, 5, 6 days. And then they sent me home on some serious meds. It was not fun. I was in pain for a good, I want to say 5, 6 weeks, and I mean serious pain, where it's medication knock you out kind of pain. And a hard it was a hard situation to deal with, because you see my hair is long, so he knew it was very important to me that I didn't lose hair. The doctor did, and he was like, I really don't want to lose all my hair. I know it's just hair, but I didn't want to be bald. So he, was very careful in how much hair I lost, and I didn't lose much. I lost maybe half of the back of my hair, and after that, you know, I mean, I don't know how else to say it. Your hair, you have a cut and a wound, so back there is not going to stay, clean. I don't want to get too gory on how bad it was, but you can't touch it. There's no washing your hair for, I want to say it was like a week or two after I got home from the hospital. So it was probably 2 weeks in total that I couldn't wash my hair. And you can't comb it. So my hair was horrible. And I remember the first day they told me that I could wash it and comb it. And my husband, because my husband was doing everything for me. He was bathing me, he was feeding me. He did everything for me. And the first day it came to washing my hair, it was so matted. I mean, there was nothing we could do but to cut it. And I was like, man, just cut it, frig it, cut it. And he sat there and he combed through it. And, those things meant so much. Especially when you're going through that and you can't do anything for yourself. So the little things, like my son's church, they provided us with food. They came and they sat with my kids. It's still very emotional for me. Because I remember what I went through. And I think of the people who don't have the support system that I did. And especially this young lady today who I spoke to, she doesn't have it. So, I know I'll have to help her a lot with what she has to go through. But my kids were very supportive. My husband was always there. And I remember there was a night when I had to go back and I had to have a spinal tap because I had a fever. They didn't know where it was coming from. So with this procedure, they have to be very careful that you don't get an infection around your brain. And so they had to do a spinal tap, and they did all these, blood cultures, and I drove down, and, my husband was very patient, which is very weird to me because he does not have patience, and I always tell him, you have no patience whatsoever, but he was so patient throughout the whole thing. And I remember that night specifically because all I kept thinking was, I'm not going to stay in this hospital again. I'm not letting them operate again. I'm done. And the pain that you're in, pain does some wicked stuff to your personality and your way of thinking. And I remember telling my husband, I'm not ever doing this surgery again. And I don't know that I will. But I remember telling him, I don't know if I'll ever do this surgery again. So whatever happens when we go in here, if they're not sending me home, Brent, I don't know what else to tell you what's going to happen. I was done. But, you know, all I can say is for those who believe in God, just keep your prayers going. For those of you who enjoy listening to music, listen to music. For me, Tamala Mann was on replay. Oh my gosh, she got me through a lot of those nights when I just couldn't, you know. There were nights when I couldn't even sleep. You can only imagine how you have to really sit up in a weird position. So I was in a weird, position throughout the entire thing. And, or position to sleep throughout the 6 to 8 months. 6 to 8 weeks, maybe 6 weeks. So, you need to have someone who can get up in the middle of the night with you. And a support system is extremely important. And a support system that's going to be there. And walk you through, or walk with you through this entire process. So if there's anything else, I don't think I left out anything, but if there's anyone who is going through this same thing, who needs to know anything or wants to know anything, or just, just some inspiration to know that there is life after this surgery, and it is, or it can be, very, rewarding surgery. I had an amazing doctor. Neurosurgeons are not always your nicest people. They're very cut and dry. And although he's cut and dry, he had a humanity about him. There was a human aspect, and he was just not my doctor. He was like an advisor, like, this is how it's going to go, and I won't put you in harm's way, but I'm going to take care of you. And a lot of the times, that's, for me, something that I want to hear my doctor say. I'm going to take care of you. Don't just tell me, yeah, it's the worst thing that you're going to probably go through. So, yeah, bye. I just give me some niceties and we'll be good. But I don't think there's anything else to say about, Arnold Chiari and what I went through and what to expect. And, some people, and there's no, guarantee that I won't have to have the surgery again. Will I have the surgery again? Still, I really don't think I will. I don't know. I don't know if I ever come to that space again in my life. I may think differently, but for now, I just want to move ahead and know that I'm living and I am, 90%, I'd say 90% symptom free. I don't know of anyone who is 100% symptom free. I would say I'm 90% symptom free. I still get the headaches, but they're nowhere near what I used to get. Nowhere near. I still have the shaking in my hand for some reason. The shake is if I'm putting something down or picking it up and I'm holding a weight, anything, that's maybe even like this heavy, you'll see my hand shaking. And other than that, I don't think I have any other. I still have the dizziness that's associated with the headaches. The word problem isn't too bad. I still do search for words, and but it's not as bad. So I'm searching for words. The word is right there, but it just takes me a minute sometimes to bring it out. Other than that, I don't think I have any other symptoms. I haven't had a chance to yell at a kid's game, and my kids are all out of school, so I haven't had that opportunity. So I don't know if that issue is still there, but I'm happy with how things are now. I am functioning. I have quality of life back, and that is all I wanted, is some sort of quality of life, to be able to go and enjoy, family outings and just live. Because I stopped living for many, many years. I stopped being happy for many, many years. I was a miserable bitch. It is what it is. So, like and subscribe. Let me know if you have any other questions. Bye.